TL. Monday, the jeweled cities of the Arklatex, Shreveport, and Bossier, coming across the airwaves of KEEL 710 AM here in Shreveport, Louisiana. And hey, folks, let me bring on the line right now a friend of the show, a friend of mine, and he is the president of the Louisiana Young Republicans, Jason Emmert. Emmert, glad you're here, brother. Thank you so much for being back.
Is it only Monday?
Yeah.
What a week.
Oh, man, we got a long week, Jason. Got a long week, brother. Let me ask you this, because this is something I've been dying to ask you. I mean, okay, ours is over now. Trump has got his crown, and he's walking away with it. As far as that's concerned, is it possible that the Democrats now that they're up to bat, is it possible that they could actually implode? I never thought I'd see what's happening here. What do you think?
I've never seen anything like this in my life. I was in Cleveland. The protests were few and far between. Not very many people. I've kind of been joking with everybody. The most organized protest was a bunch of naked women out, I think, on Sunday or something. But the Democrats, no, this is incredible. This is very, very sad of a party that prides itself on organization, and they are. The hashtag shouldn't be Dems and silly. It should be Dems and disarray. I mean, it is. I have a big bowl of popcorn in the living room, and I'm just watching.
That's what I told everybody. Jason, listen, this is what I told everybody. I said, hey, look, if you want political entertainment, pop you some popcorn tonight and just sit there and watch. This is going to be entertaining. I'm telling you, it's going to be. Man, is this Wasserman Schultz? Is it on her? Is this really on her, or is she the fall person?
Look, it's on all of them. It's on. And honestly, I'll step up to bat for Obama here because he actually wanted to push out Debbie Wasserman Schultz a few years ago. She's bad at fundraising. She's been a bad leader. She's unorganized. She's a terrible congresswoman. And for whatever reason, she's hung around because the Clinton machine is behind her. And this is all on her, and this is all on the Clinton machinery. This shows exactly what kind of president Hillary Rodham Clinton would be. And it's a pretty scary insight that she could protect her emails either at the State Department or in a party apparatus. And, it's kind of funny to me that they're also concerned all of a sudden of Russia's hacking of someone's email.
Do you buy that?
I don't know what to buy. Honestly, CL, man, this year's so crazy. I buy anything, but the FBI is looking into it.
They are. The FBI actually are. They're actually looking into it to see if the Russians. But this is the thing. They're saying that Manafort, who is Trump's campaign manager, actually used to work for one of the propped up presidents there in the Ukraine of Russia.
Yeah, he worked for Yanukovych and not really a friend of democracy. And so Manafort does have some ties for sure. And whether or not that's him pulling the strings, I certainly hope that doesn't turn. Because
we have them in the corner. We have the rat trapped. We have the DNC rat trapped in the corner. And neither you or I were, on the Trump train, initially and all that kind of stuff. But hey, we're team players, so we're gonna see if we can elect us a president. And we have the DNC trapped in the corner. And I hope that they don't get some kind of out with one of our guys who is actually trying to manipulate this thing. Let me move on to Bernie. 14 months ago, Bernie Sanders didn't have a prayer. Not a prayer. And, of course, Trump, no way either. And he's going to be political history. But Bernie Sanders, man, whatever you think about him, his run has been no less than amazing. Do you think his folks are going to behave themselves?
Well, I'll just address the run. I mean, if you would have told me a septuagenarian socialist was going to get that close to becoming the Democratic nominee against the most ultimate establishment politician of all time, I would have called you a liar. And I think the movement's gone too far. I believe there is a real Bernie Sanders, quote-unquote, revolution going on, and it's coming from the left, and that should terrify every American out there because whenever they have a 40-year-old, 50-year-old young, energetic candidate that's going to be really hard for the Democrats to compete with. It's going to be hard for us to compete with if we don't get our act together as a party as well. We're not tremendously organized either. But yeah, this is a real movement, and people are behind it, and a lot of people in my generation sadly have fallen for this. That they need to do as much traveling as I have to see what kind of wreck and ruins that socialism brings to countries.
Oh, that's well said, man. That is well said. Let me ask you this then. Does Bernie's success mean that the Republican Party and conservatism, well, I won't say conservatism, but the Republican Party will actually begin to will modulate toward more of a center, which means that we very well could become Democrat light if we go any further toward the left. Is that a trend? Do you see that?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have nominated for president someone who is identified as a Democrat, who has donated hundreds of thousands of dollars to Democrats, and who said that we're not the conservative party, we're the Republican Party. So yeah, we're already kind of drifting that way into the center, and to some degree to center left. I think that kind of leaves a lot of people like you and I left out, who are conservatives and who stand on principles and believe in the conservative values of the Republican Party. So I don't know if this is a one-off year. Look, Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, they are showcasing that the status quo has left millions and millions of people behind. That there is what John Edwards said in 2004. There is two Americas. And it's been brought on by the Obama administration because of their policies. They care much more about the urban elite than they do about people like where I grew up in rural Appalachia. I'm thankful to be home right now in Tennessee, and there's a bunch of people that just feel left behind, and it's the fault of career politicians like Hillary Clinton.
Jason, I'm going to be up against a hard break, but when we come back, and Jill instructs you during the break, but I want to come back in with you. I want to talk a little bit about Ted Cruz and the vilification of him here by so many. And I didn't know you were from. I've talked to you on many occasions. I didn't know you were from Appalachia. I didn't know that, but I've been there many a time. I want to talk to you about that.
I'm a proud hillbilly.
I want to talk to you about that because, and we'll get to it when we come back. I'm CL. This is the CL Bryant Show. On with Jason Emmerich. He is young Republican president of Louisiana. Back in a minute.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
CL back with you on this beautiful Monday evening here in the Arklatex, streaming live throughout the fruited plains of the greatest nation on the face of the earth, the greatest success story the world has ever known. That is America. On the line with me is Jason Emmert. And let me tell you, he is the president of the Young Republicans here in Louisiana. And coming up will be Chris Lyons, who is a Sanders supporter. And as I always tell you, it's to build the bridge to conversation. And they're millennials. They're millennials. We got to hear from them because there is something happening out there. And Jason, you were talking about the revolution that has already begun. And we were talking about the impact that revolution is having on the two-party system. Can the two-party system survive much longer, Jason?
You know, I do like the two-party system, but look, there's a lot of different opinions out there, and not everyone who's a Democrat believes 100% with the party platform, and not everyone that's Republican believes 100% with that. You know, I always like to say, if you agree 100% with any candidate, someone's lying.
That's right. That's right, brother.
So, I think that we'd be served better with probably a few more parties. You know, we have the Greens now and the Libertarians, and I think that would be great to have them as a legitimate parties into our system, especially within the Congress. I think it's great to have a parliament that is robustly represented from all different viewpoints. And you just don't get the issues and the broad debate that you would get if there was more than two parties.
Let me ask you this then. I was going to ask about the vilification of Ted Cruz. Is that something that Ted deserved? Is that something Ted brought on himself? Or is that something that was, did he come into somebody's house and spit on their carpet? How did you view that?
Well, look, I mean, the Trump people knew exactly what he was going to do. It wasn't a surprise, so he didn't come in and spit on their carpet in any means. I think what Ted Cruz did, he is a man of principle. That's why I supported him. Had he had gone in there and just kind of done something different, like all the other politicians did, then he wouldn't have been the guy I thought he was. But because he stood up there and faced the boos and faced the jeers and faced the criticism since then, it made me very proud to be a Ted Cruz supporter. He's standing up on principle for what he's always believed in, and that's who he is. And I'm incredibly proud of him. I was glad to be in there during that moment. And look, I'm going to be with Cruz here on out because he showed me something different than any other politician out there.
That's a very good perspective on that. So 2020, whether Trump is in office or whether Trump loses, we're going to see more of Ted, you think?
I think so, yeah. I think the people of Texas are well represented, and hope they return him in 2018 as they should.
Yeah, if they can get over the shock. I mean, I think everybody thought that he was going to come in and lay down, but I like the way you looked at that. He was defiant to the end. He was himself to the end. And hey, really, your word. If your word is your bond, then it ought to be your bond. Now, man, you were saying that you grew up in Appalachia. You know, I have done some work up there. I actually shot some footage of film up there. Man, in West Virginia, in parts of West Virginia, I saw some of the poorest people that I have ever seen in my life. And Jason, they weren't black folks. These were white people. I didn't know that type of poverty existed until I visited there. But let me tell you one thing I appreciated about them. They were proud people. They were incredibly proud. What did you draw from? I don't know how what your upbringing was. I don't know what it was, but what did you draw from the strength of those type people? Because it is bred into them some type of pride. Where does that come from?
Well, I mean, it just comes with having to grow up kind of difficult. Appalachia's a hard place to grow up. And because of our Scotch-Irish heritage, you grow up kind of clannish, and you stick to the people you're with, and you're fiercely loyal to that group of people. And nothing's going to get you down. Now, I'm in Louisiana temporarily. My fiance is a Cajun. I'm an honorary Cajun. Our children will be Cajun, but we're also going to have a life in Tennessee, and this is where that I want to have our family and where we're going to be. We still own our home here in Tennessee. It's an incredible place to grow up, and Appalachia is just incredibly special.
It's beautiful, man.
Of the country.
It is so beautiful.
I'm an eighth generation Tennessean. My family came from Germany. They went through Pennsylvania, and they kept following down, and they were circuit riders with the Methodist Church under Francis Asbury, and that's
wow.
where we are. So,
there's a lot of Asbury Methodist churches around.
Yeah, and so it's so that's why we're here. I'm very proud of that. You know, we're still Methodist. We're very strong in the community here. It was a wonderful way to grow up, and I hope my kids have the exact same upbringing that I had, and it certainly molded me into who I am today.
It gives me an incredible insight into the entire character, knowing that is where your roots run into, because, as I said, man, I was devastated by what I saw as far as the abject poverty, but I was also incredibly, deeply impressed by the character of the people. That was just incredible.
Look, Appalachia's been left behind for a long time, and it's something that people need to really get serious about. You know, it's disappointing that we have the Appalachian Regional Commission, and I think they only have 3 full-time staffers on it. This is a region that stretches from Maine to Mississippi by their definition, and they don't have people addressing the situations that are facing Appalachia. There's rampant drug abuse, there's high poverty, there's obesity, there's everything that stems from obesity, there's very poor education system. The infrastructure is falling apart. It is an area that has been completely left behind, and it cuts across both parties from Maine to Mississippi. And it is something that we all kind of take on as a point of pride to kind of move on without the help of government, and that's why we're a fiercely loyal and a fiercely self-determined bunch.
Well, listen, all the best to you and your young family. And listen, fight the good fight. I know you are, Jason, because you are fighting the good fight. Thank you so much for being on with me here today, man. Listen, got to check in after the DNC so that we can do a postmortem on what's happening in this week in politics.
Absolutely, CL. I figured that dumpster fire is going to be burning for a while, so we need to talk about it.
Absolutely, brother. Listen, God bless and keep you, man. Talk to you soon.
Take care, brother. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Yeah, folks, that was Jason Emmert, who is the president of the Young Republicans here in Louisiana. Incredible story. In fact, that's another dimension to his story that I was unaware of, but that gives you, once you know where a person comes from, and once you know where a person, where their roots run into, it gives you insight into who they are and their type of character. And folks, if you've never seen Appalachia, if you've never been through the rural Appalachia, I've seen Detroit, I've seen the barrios of Los Angeles and the Compton and Watts and Baltimore. Baltimore is like a war zone in some places, but you can't imagine how poor some of the places are in Appalachia is. And anybody who survived that, especially with the pride and the character those people have, it's impressive. It is incredibly impressive. I'm going to be back with Chris Lyons, Bernie Sanders supporter, when I return. This is the C.L. Bryant Show. I am C.L. Bryant. Don't go anywhere. Come back. CL, back with you on this Monday evening, and I am really glad to have this young man here because he helps me to show exactly what we want to accomplish and achieve with the show. The reason we set out to do this. Chris Lyon is joining me now, and Chris is a Bernie Sanders supporter. He's a young man. And Chris, what was it about this septuagenarian that caught your ear from the inset?
Sure. I think that, for me, understanding that Bernie Sanders had a platform that I agreed with that at the outset. You look at the candidates that were available to me as somebody who supports a progressive agenda. It was the platform. How far can we push the progress as I see it and the people that support Bernie see it? How far can we go with that? And so that was the first thing. And then his honesty and his openness to have the discussion and his sternness towards his platform and pushing people that are that were with him or not with him to think differently about the issues.
And folks, I want you to hear this young man. You're a millennial.
Yes.
I want you to hear from our children. I want you to hear from them because, and our children in some cases, our grandchildren. I want you to hear from this because what I'm asking is this is going to be on the table in the future. You cannot close your eyes or ears to the voices and the voice that you're going to hear in the Democrat Party and those voices that you're going to hear on the Republican side. The progressive liberal agenda to a progressive young a young American. What is it that you want?
Sure. Well, first I'll say that, as you said, this is a young people thing. If you look at the breakdown between old and young voters, it's a pretty hard split between somebody like Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders has the overwhelming majority of young voters. And whether or not they show up to vote is a different issue entirely, but
yeah, they don't show up.
but the reality is that you're right. This is where we're pushing forward. These are the kind of people that are going to be growing up and taking these positions and running for office or voting at the end of the day. And I'm sorry I had that tangent in my hand. What was the question that you had?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you. Yeah, no. What is it you want?
What is it I want? Gosh, that's such a broad question.
What is it that you would like to see come out of this convention? What does Hillary have to become for you to like her?
Sure. I'm not sure at this point that Hillary can become something that I.
Wow.
Yeah, because the reality is that there's a platform that's a part of the Democratic National Convention that was just accepted today, and it's largely the Bernie platform. And not to say that Hillary can't own that or she can't move towards that, but I don't believe that she will.
She'll pretend that she will.
Sure. And when you're going to bat, when you want change to happen, you want somebody who's at bat, who really believes in the platform and has believed in it from day one. As your previous guest was just saying, there's something to be said about somebody who sticks to their guns, who believes what they believe and is willing to go to bat with that information. And I'm just not sure at this point that Hillary can turn me on that. Setting all the scandals aside and everything, it's not her platform. And so it's very difficult for me to believe that she will own it and that she will move it forward.
Hillary Clinton became who she was before you were born. She was scandal ridden when you and my children are the same age, and she was scandal ridden when they were babies, and before they were born. Some of them, and let me say this. Do you think then that she's not telling the truth then? According to what you're looking at, is that the way those protesters in Philadelphia? Do you think that's the way they're seeing her? Somebody untruthful?
Yeah, I think so, and that part of that ties into some of the scandal that's come up of late, which is do you say what you're going to say, or do you believe what you're going to say? Are you being truthful are you being forthcoming? I think that's the real thing. It's not even are you telling the truth, but are you being forthcoming with that truth? And are you hiding kind of behind some, platform that you don't believe in just to get the votes? How quickly and willing are you willing to change? Not to say that you can't change because life is compromised. Mm-hmm. But I think that's that's kind of the heart of what the protesters are feeling is, can you be transparent about what's happening with you and with your agenda? And transparency is becoming this huge thing that all young people are wanting to be a part of, and that the 21st century is a part of. And part of that's the access to information that the internet has given us, and the ability to coalesce around a group of people, whether it's online or what have you. So yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely the core of the problem.
Let me ask you then, and we'll probably continue this on the other side of the break. A Bernie supporter who is saying that they'll bypass Hillary and vote for Trump, give us some insight into how that, because see, I just can't see how that's possible, that a Bernie supporter bypasses Hillary and supports a Donald Trump. No more than I can see a Trump supporter supporting, although there are some things that I could see that, but just the same, how does that happen?
I'm not sure how that would happen, and I certainly have been kind of on this edge of Bernie or bust, which I'm conflicted because I'm all for somebody who, like, again, the gentleman you had before who says, like, look, here's somebody that's on their ideals, that is going to stick to their guns, and whether or not they can garner the votes is a different issue. And it would be difficult for me to say that I could reconcile moving my vote to Trump just because I want to see the world burn or something like that. I mean, that's ultimately what we're talking about is, you're talking about dismantling a system, and certainly the goal that some people have is, look, if the system is screwed up, let's show them how screwed up it is. Let's show them the worst case scenario in so many Democrats' minds, which is a Trump presidency.
Yeah.
The entire time at the convention today, it's been, let's defeat Trump, let's unite to defeat Trump, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, that shouldn't be the rallying cry of a presidential candidate, right?
What's amazing about what you have just said is that on the other side of the ledger, you have people who are saying we have to vote for Trump to defeat Hillary. And the thing that is missing so much in this presidential season, electoral season, are the issues that face us all. And we're in a deep pile of mess. We really are as Americans.
Yeah.
But it seemed as though the electorate is saying, we just don't want him or we don't want her. When I come back, I want to get a millennial's take on the word socialism, and are your parents and grandparents overreaching when we brand you a follower of a socialist? And I want to get your take on that. I'm CL. I'm on with Chris Lyon, a young Sanders supporter. We're going to be right back. We'll take your calls, 320-5335.
Oh, my range. They got a lot of nice girls. I'm racing.
CL. Back with Chris Lyon here, a young Bernie Sanders supporter, and I tell you what, it's very interesting to talk to them, young people. I have a couple of kids who very much. My son, he's like me, he's conservative to the core, but I have 4 children, and 2 of them are somewhat liberal. One of them is a Bernie supporter, but in the vein of Chris Lyons. Very well articulated, very good reasoning of her own as to why she's that way. And when I talk to Chris, it's like talking to, and folks, you have to take a look at what our young people are thinking, because as our sun begins to go down behind the mountain, theirs is rising. And as you and I get older, we need to understand who's going to be in charge of this thing and what they're thinking. And so I want to welcome back to the show Chris Lyon. I want to ask you this, because this is the one thing that is on the minds of people in my generation and people who may be a little bit older than I am. And that is, when you hear the word socialist attached to Bernie Sanders, does that give you pause? What do you think of that? How? And I listen, we talked during the break. I know you're proud of your American heritage. I know that. There's no question about that. But what do you think when that is thrown around in this free market system?
Well, I think that the thing that gives me pause about it is not what it means, but what people think it means. I think that people, you look at history, and we have this huge event that happened in mid-last century, which is the Red Scare. And you have, beat the communists, beat the Russians, and the socialists and the fascists, and all these isms and ists got kind of mixed in together. And really, the country, being the United States, actually has quite a few social programs. We have one in name, Social Security, that a lot of people depend on, and especially people that are getting into your age are going to be depending on. And we have libraries, and we have police departments and fire departments. And really, what I would love for people to take away from the concept of somebody like Bernie Sanders, who is a self-proclaimed democratic socialist, is that he's out looking for social programs more than he's looking at a way of life or a way of government. It's not communism. It's completely different, even though they share some similarities on some levels. And, to me, we do have these programs that work. People are very proud of their police, their armed service members. These are social programs. And I think that what we need to take away from them is the rhetoric of these are bad things, or socialism means communism. It means taking away free choice and all of these things, because on the whole, that's not what it means at the outset.
Let me ask you this. Margaret Thatcher, during the Reagan administration, said these words: eventually you run out, though, of other people's money. Where do we fund the free college and that type of thing that Bernie was talking about? Where do we get that money? Because if you look at it on paper, socialism was fantastic on paper, but in the practice of it, it is never. I've never seen it except in the programs that you name, like the police, and libraries, and of course that type of thing. Yeah, those are you rightly identify them. They truly are social programs that all of us pay for. That is absolutely true, and we need more money for police and libraries and so forth like that. But when we start talking about educating your child, my child, and everybody's kid gets a free ride to education, who pays for that?
Sure. I think that by the very definition of being a social program, everybody pays for it. And yes, I think, once you're quoting Margaret Thatcher, you're absolutely right. There is in theory, a limited amount of capital. And to get way off into space here for a second, money is a construct, right? We use it to regulate our society. We use it in exchange for value, whether it be for work or services or products. And the question is, where do we place the value on that? Do we place a value on being the best country in the world when it comes to things like education. When we look at the post-World War II part of our economy, which saw the biggest growth in our history, it was based around science. It was space. It was technology. It was computers and all of these things. It was the home of the future. It was, where are we going to go next? Where are we looking at on the horizon? And we dumped tremendous amounts of money into these initiatives, primarily because it was us against the Russians, right? And so that's how everybody could get behind it, was there was a common enemy, right? And now that there's no common enemy, the enemy is ourselves. We aren't the best. People claim that we're the best country in the world, and a lot of places have democracy. A lot of places have personal freedoms, freedom of speech and right to weapons and things like that. But how do we differentiate ourselves? How do we get to that place where we are the best? And finding those mechanisms, is going to be important going forward.
You'll hear me say a lot of times, you'll hear me say this over and over. In fact, you hear me say it every day. It's the greatest success story, in my opinion, that the world, well, is historically a fact that America is the greatest success story the world has ever known, and it's because of the stories that you and I were talking about during the break about your grandparents, mine, and as Jason was talking about his, and I want to have you back on occasion. I really do. As we move along, because folks, I don't want you to take lightly what is being said here today, because, and I'm telling you, you need to pop some popcorn tonight. You need to sit down. You need to watch this DNC convention, this Democratic.
That's right. Bernie Sanders is next to last tonight.
Yeah, he's closing this thing.
Yeah, 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, something like that. So.
Yeah, he's closing. So stay up and watch Bernie. But listen, Chris, I want to thank you, man, for being here with me today. God bless and God keep you.
Thank you, CL.
All right. Yes. Hey, want to thank our sponsors: Holmes Honda European, Bailey's Fine Jeweler, Tiger Axle, Milam Cars, DavTac Custom Arms and Ammo, Signature Cleaning, Subway, and Chevyland for sponsoring this segment, CL Bryant Show. I'll be back. Don't go anywhere. CL back with you on this Monday. Been hot out there. Man, it's hot out there. But did rain yesterday, and we glad about it. Yoakum Toyota, Breches Insurance, Grub Burger, Air Innovations, Rimmer Electric, Dale's Paving, Mercatech, Red Wing Shoes, Brown Dodge, SS Truck, Bossier Magazine, Josie Wright, Century 21 Elite, Barksdale Federal Credit Union. Thank you for sponsoring this portion of the C.L. Bryant Show. Going to take your calls, 320-5335, 320-5335. Listen, as I was saying to you all, it is important that you pay attention to what the young people are thinking, what they're saying, how they're viewing this, even the idea of socialism, how they're viewing capitalism and the free market. On the line with me now is Mark. Mark, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for calling. What's on your mind, brother?
CL, I like you, have four, and at least one of my youngins is of the liberal bent, and I have discussions with her regularly about these things. And, you know, when your child is 2 and becomes headstrong, we call those the terrible twos. Well, when they get in their 20s and they start thinking they know everything, I call it the terrible 2-0s. and they have a lot that they've learned, and they think they know it. And one teacher of mine said, it's not what you don't know that scares me, is what you think you know that just ain't so.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was a Mark Twainian sort of
right
quote.
And Reagan borrowed that one too, Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, they everything's on paper. One thing I will say to encourage us old people, we say, well, so many of them are coming in the 20s, registering to vote, and they have these views, and then so many of us, we're dying off, and we're more conservative, so obviously the world is turning liberal overnight. What we're forgetting is in between. Every hour that passes, all of us become an hour older. And with that hour of experience, we pay taxes, we see risks to our children in schools and crime, and we worry about making ends meet. And those experiences always make you more conservative over time. Now, some people don't, but they tend to. I shouldn't say always, but they tend to make a culture more conservative. So as the clock ticks, we're feeding in a lot of liberals at the bottom, and a lot of old conservatives are leaving at the top, or whichever is top and bottom. But between, we grow more conservative, even like carbon monoxide. We don't know it because experience does that. Their ideas work on paper, but life makes you more realistic.
It really is. And you know what? Once I became, and it was 20 years ago for me, once I became a conservative, about 19 years ago for me, but I realized something, Mark, that I should have been this all along. And I was just talking to this young man, and this is what you're saying. You're saying that as you do get older, you begin to realize certain things that ought to be. That is a young idealist, even though it sounds great and it looks good on paper, it's not realistic.
Well, I mean, when you realize, hey, you're taking, as you quoted to your last guest, he was a very articulate young man.
Yeah, he was.
So the Margaret Thatcher, we're running out of other people's money. When he starts paying those taxes and he realizing that's his money, that's that experience I'm talking about, which will make him rethink some of this stuff. At least, maybe not all of them, but some of them will. And so there's hope. There's really hope in the next generation. We just have to give them time. We can't hammer them with it because they resist it. But if they experience it, they'll come in and explain it to us and think they thought it up first.
That's amazing that you'd say that. And I want to ask you this question, and folks. We will take your calls at 320-5335, 318-320-5335. But I want to ask you this then. In light of what the scenario and the formula that you have just laid out, how then does a Hillary Clinton, and Al Sharpton, a Jesse Jackson, and Bernie Sanders, well, not a Bernie's on a totally different plane than they are, but those people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I mean, true believers in the Democrat Party and probably liberalism, how do they justify growing older and maintaining the ideal?
Well, the people that are in the system, the professionals, the politicians, they're vested in it So they have to keep it going because they're exploiting it. And so they keep, just like in the civil rights movement, they keep some of the lies going. That gives them power. Well, the liberal politics, they get the feeding in of young people. And I'll call you back on another day if you talk about global warming. There is a scam that's being going on that's feeding on these ideas of these young environmentalists, and they're stealing their money, and they don't even know it. And it'll take more time to explain it, but
they're ripping them off.
Ways that they're exploiting this idealism from these young people who don't think they think they know it all, and they're subject to being exploited, and they actually are being exploited.
And I do want to talk to you about that because Al Gore has become a billionaire. John Kerry sounds like an idiot every time he opens his mouth on something like this. But Mark, I always like you calling in. Always gives us good insight and food for thought. God bless. God keep you. Hey man, pop the popcorn. This is going to be a great show tonight.
Thanks.
Okay, you too. We're going to be back with your phone calls on the other side of the break, 320-5335, 318-320-5335, when we return. This is the C.L. Bryant Show. And as I was saying a little bit earlier to you, that this is a time for us to actually have a gut check as conservatives. Because, as Thomas Jefferson has reminded us, the price of our liberty is eternal vigilance. And when we think about our young people and the way they look at the America that they are inheriting. Our young people are in the process of inheriting what your tax dollars are paying for. And as Mark put it, hey, I think there very well may be an adjustment in the way they think, at least I hope it is, once they start paying the taxes. Otherwise, you do run out of money. I'm CL. Be back in a minute.
Up to you, all my beautiful disaster.
All it takes to bring out the socialist is to have a Sanders supporter on the show. Joining me is really is a regular. I always enjoy talking to you. I really do. Stephen, I know why you're calling. What's on your mind?
Yes, sir. Well, many times I'd like to call, but I've been busy with Little League coaching, so
Good for you, man.
I had time to call.
Well, yeah, you listen. You cannot be all bad when you like Little League, but baseball or football, for that matter.
But when I got to follow Mark up. Mark sounds very logical and a very smart man. But I got problems. Okay? First of all, I grew more liberal as I got older. And
Why? Why? Let me stop right there. Why?
Because there are things that I see in America that are problems. And the principles of conservatism, which I see as selfishness and fear, cannot solve it. And never have.
But what are that? But Stephen, selfishness and fear, that's bold, man. That's a broad stroke right there.
Over everything else, that's nothing but self-centeredness. That's it.
How's it self-centered to be conservative?
Okay, let me explain to you some things. 3 things that I see that are problems conservatism hasn't fixed. A is, as we get less and less of the international market, we used to own 30% of it in the 60s, and our top tax rate was 70%. We started getting more conservative over the last 3 decades. Okay?
All right, give you that.
Over time, our international market keeps decreasing. Everybody gets more fearful. And they're talking about idealism, but here's the point that hits me. Our poverty rate since the 60s has been 20% of the population.
All right.
Has not changed one iota. We can't do better than that.
No, I tell you why. Because we did talk about. I asked. If you recall, I asked Mark this question about Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Hillary Clinton, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, and he talked about people who are in the system. There is a structure. There is a system.
Okay, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
Nonsense. Okay.
That's true. That's why you can't move beyond that figure. It's supposed to be there.
Our debt is at $17 trillion. Do you realize that 10 or 11 trillion of it is Social Security IOUs?
Well, we could talk about that, but no, we could talk about that.
That's for the elderly.
No, we could talk about that. That's not necessarily true. But what I can do is break that down for you, because see, a lot of times you throw around figures that you pull out of the air. Go ahead.
The young people did not build up this debt we owe.
But you're going to have to pay for it.
We are so selfish as our generation. So to keep our lifestyles the way it is without getting more international market, we just kept borrowing money and using Social Security money instead of saving it for our children.
Right. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And it has been the policies of progressive liberalism in the regulations that has caused this problem.
Okay. Here's one more for you that really blew my mind 3 months ago.
Go ahead.
3 months ago. You keep talking about ethics and moral. I saw a statistic 3 months ago that shows that people in their 60s are having more out-of-wedlock sex than people in their 20s.
But again, that's another progressive liberal program that has been placed in place because you're pumping the older guys with Viagra these days. That's what's happening. That was a progressive liberal policy, man.
Francisco, that's making billions of dollars off of Viagra.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that has nothing to do with conservatism.
Oh, well, what?
It really doesn't. It has nothing to do with them growing. No, it's the ability to continue is what that is.
How are you going to solve poverty with conservatives? What I see is conservatives, they don't even care.
Oh, that's really, to tell you the truth. Let me tell you how they care, Stephen. Let me tell you how they care. Let me just give it to you in a nutshell how they care. They care because each and every one of us, they show they care because each and every one of us have an individual gift to offer. And in the free market system, that conservatism, and in the capitalist system, that conservatism really would like to preserve, if we can get down the regulations on business, it would give you, it would give me, and anybody else out there the ability to have the American, you know what,
Adam Smith, the
whenever you want.
invented capitalism. Even in his book, if you would read his book, he said, human beings are not like dogs. He said human beings need each other to survive.
Well, of course, and human beings need each other. But listen, the job that you have, listen to me, Stephen, listen to me. The job that you have, somebody, an individual, thought of it, and then you went to work. Okay? That's how we need other people. A person has to think of it, and then you put other people to work.
I had people help me pay for my education.
Well, of course you did. But the education didn't come along until somebody first needed educating. You understand what I'm saying? It's always an individual act before it becomes a group action.
Oh my God, no! It's a group action.
No. But you are born. Listen, Stephen. You are born by yourself. Even if you have a twin, he comes out differently than you. You are born as an individual, and then you become a part of a group, and that's the way you succeed in life.
We are 6 billion people on this earth. We are a family.
Well, we very well may be, but as far as our accomplishments,
go ahead and try.
listen to me. We very well may be a human family, but as far as accomplishments are concerned, everybody is not going to achieve greatness. Everybody is not going to achieve anything. Everybody doesn't do all of anything.
You should read Booker T. Washington Heights.
I've read Booker T. Washington is a historical hero of mine. And if black folks had listened to Booker T. Washington, we'd be as progressive and successful as the Irish, because that's exactly the model that Booker T. Washington wanted black folks to use for their success once they were free from slavery.
He didn't want them to do it alone.
Of course he didn't want them to do it alone, but he wanted them to discover business individually for themselves, as every other group of people do in this country. We're talking about the same thing, Stephen, but we're taking a different approach. I'll talk to you soon, man. Thanks a lot for calling. I'm CL. Be right back.
Broadcasting from the Bayou State and all around the Gulf Coast and streaming nationwide. This is the C.L. Bryant Show.
There is a progressive liberal lie that too many people have bought into it, and this whole week on your cable channels, your cable news channels, you're going to be hearing the progressive liberal lie that too many Americans have bought into. And I'm going to have several people who have bought into it, in my opinion, on the radio with me, and I invite anybody to call in and we can talk about it. But part of it is what one of the calling guests was talking about here just a little bit ago, and that is, you did not do it alone. Now, and of course, in the context that when you say that, hey, I did this, I achieved this, there are those who will say, no, you didn't do that alone. Let me tell you why you did. Let me tell you why you can claim that for yourself. Because there are those who received the same instructions from the same people in some cases that you did, that will never succeed with the same instructions. You may say, or some people may say, well, maybe they didn't have the opportunity, or maybe they grew up in a bad environment. The instructions for success are the same regardless of where you are. I know that there are people who don't want to believe that, but it is true. These are the tools that a person needs for success. 1, ability. 2, ambition. 3, drive. And 4, personal need to succeed. You can be in a hovel and realize that you have an ability to do something, whatever it is. It may be pruning trees, whatever it is. Doesn't matter what it is. It may be sweeping floors. It can be anything. But you realize that you have the ability. And so within yourself, what God gave you, with the endowment that you have by your Creator, within yourself, you realize then that if you exercise the ambition with the drive to get up off your butt, get up off your behind, and go do what is necessary to bring that ambition to the forefront, there will be people along the way who will give you more instruction, who may even give you a hand up, but you got to be there. They won't do it while you're sitting on the couch. They won't do it while you're down on the corner shooting dice or trying to find some mischief to get into. You have to be available for opportunity and success to come your way. You have to be there. And so that is why I say, when people mention to you or use this phraseology, you didn't get there alone, you didn't do it by yourself. Yes, you did. Because it was by yourself that you decided that you were going to go someplace. Nobody is going to take you by the hand unless they're your parents, and too many parents, they don't do it. They really don't do it. They don't do the child any good when they just give them that. Yeah, a lot of stuff has been given to folks. That's true. But that same person that's given to usually loses it pretty quick. But a person who says, I'm going to go here, I want to go here, and with God's help, And with the endowment that the Creator has placed in me, that drive for life, liberty, and happiness, personal happiness, you on your own make the decision to get that. And once you make the decision to get that, yes, there are people who cross your path. There are people who say, I was where you are, and this is what I tried, and it worked for me. Think about it. But you still make the decision as to how you're going to proceed. And folks, I look at it like this, and I hear you're going to hear a lot of this week at the Democrat convention of how, this person is so downtrodden and how he never had a chance and none of that kind of stuff and all that kind of stuff. You're going to hear that. Everybody has a chance. Everybody has ability, but not everyone has ambition. Or maybe they have ambition, but maybe they don't have the drive. And maybe they have all three of the combinations, but they don't really have a need personally to succeed. All of those are personal responsibilities that you must have personally, regardless of your economic situation, regardless of who your parents are, regardless of where you live. Those four things is what everyone needs, even a person who is a slave. That's what you need to be free. I'm CL. Be right back.
Stood there boldly, sweating in the sun. Felt like a million, felt like number one.
CL back with you, talking about identifying your ability. You know, my dad, even though my dad was in the restaurant business, my dad was a great mechanic. I could have been a very good mechanic. My son is a fantastic mechanic. You know, that's what he does for a living. He could have been a good politician, but his ability that he most favors is working with his hands, putting things together, making things work. And he does very well. He's become a very good father, supports his family very well because my son, give you a case in point. I wanted my boy to go to college and become an attorney. All you attorneys out there, that's what I wanted my son to do here in Louisiana. People at a former church of mine would tell you I used to call him the governor because that was my ambition for my son, was to have him enter into politics, and maybe I was going to live my political dreams vicariously through him. But he comes to me second year in college, and he says to me, "Dad, this isn't me. I want to take a job doing the monster truck thing, raising trucks up, elevating them, that type thing." And he does. And he's very good at it. He would have been miserable being what I wanted him to be. Now I'm very happy for him. Disappointed a little bit that but very happy for him because he lives his life. He does very well. But now, talking about that person who need to identify, that person, your young person, or that person who always gives you the line that, hey, I never had a chance, or you hear it all week this week at the Democratic National Convention. You're going to hear it all week. That, the downtrodden, the undertrodden. Yes, there are people like that. That is true. But each one of them has an ability that they need to identify. And once you identify the ability, then you have to have the ambition. And the ambition can't come before identifying the ability. Let me tell you why. Because too many people have the ambition of wanting to be Michael Jordan, and you don't have the ability. Too many young people these days think they're going to be Justin Timberlake or they're going to be Jay-Z. You have the ambition, but you don't have the ability, because both of those people are very good business folks, especially Jay-Z. Very good businessman. That was his ability first. And then he had the ambition to take it into a different direction. Then he had the drive. Then he had the personal need to succeed. That means to stay there. Continue in it until it pays off. On several occasions, Jane and I have done things that have been successful, but you have to stay there until it either succeeds or fail, and then you dust yourself off and get back on the horse. That's also a part of success. That's also an ability to get up again once you've been knocked down. Donald Trump, prime example. Even though, he came from a well-to-do family and all that kind of thing, but he did not have to stay on top. I've known many of wealthy kids whose parents had plenty of money, left it to them. They don't have it now. It's the ability, the ambition, the drive, and the personal need to succeed. The personal need to be even better than your father was. That's what America's about. But now I tell you what we hand out in spades here in America. I tell you what we hand out in just wheelbarrow full here in America. Excuses as to why they can't. We want to give everybody a trophy instead of letting them learn from losses. Doesn't mean you're a loser because you lost. No, it means there's something you needed to do differently to win. That's what. And I was talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's he's filed bankruptcy 3 times, 4 times, been married 3, 4 times. But hey, tell you what, it looks like he's doing pretty good with this marriage. It looks like he's done pretty good since he got back on the horse in business. No, just because you fail at something doesn't mean you're a loser just because you failed. No, it means that you had to go and figure out some other way to win. Lord knows I've failed in life. Sure have. But hey, I had to go figure out what I need to do better next time. And sometimes it's dumping people who are thinking that everybody needs a trophy. Sometimes you need to get away from them. I'll be back to close out the show here, but I got to tell you, you need to get you some popcorn, pop it, tune in the DNC tonight. I am telling you that if you are interested in the country's future, you need to understand that there are those who are planning to take it down. And they're going to be on your television tonight. Pay close attention. I'm CL. Be back in a minute. CL here to close it out on this Monday. Believe it, the social engineers will be at it tonight and all the rest of this week, putting together a society where everyone's a winner. Great on paper. Great idea. The only problem, it's never been realistic. No, never has. Go all the way back to one of the earliest stories one of the earliest stories, period. Cain and Abel. Cain and Abel. One decided he didn't want to do it the right way. The other did it the right way. One got the results of doing it the right way. The other got the results of, or actually, the result of being envious of the guy who did it the right way is what created what caused the first murder, according to the discipline that I have been educated in all these years. Yeah. Class envy. Oh yeah. That's basically what that was. He was envious of the prosperity of his brother. That's what that was. And that's what it is even today. They're trying to create the same type of envy because there is a way to do it. There is an American prescription that was laid out in our founding documents. And it simply says this, that you have an endowment. You have an endowment with the ability that you were given by your Creator. And among them is life. You got that. Liberty, got that. But this is where it gets shaky, in that word pursuit. Because there are different avenues that can give you different results. But if you follow instructions of people who may have tried it and failed, or tried it and succeeded, when you pursue your happiness, it's up to you which avenue you pursue. And that will determine the outcome. Life and death is a whole different story. You know, some lives are just longer than others, some are shorter than others. But the quality of life and what you experience is your choice. It's up to you. I want to thank God for bringing us to the close of yet another day. And I want to thank him for our men and women in uniform around the globe who defend our right to speak our minds. And until I'm able to talk to you again, I'm CL, and may God bless and keep you all.
For all you sacrificed to keep freedom alive, and to the families left behind, we'll stand by your side. And the bond will never be